Every student at the Magic Academy is aware that long-range magic is superior than close combat magic. It's like showing up to a bow fight with a stone axe. It is therefore understandable why it is unpopular with pupils, and that only losers select it. Even though he is the most promising student, he chooses to become a close combat mage. His teacher is initially taken aback, but later becomes enraged. He yells at our boy for squandering his gift. The other pupils are also taken aback. They simply don't get why he's choosing the worst course of action. Setsuna, however, disregards them all and affirms his decision. He is unable to employ any other kind of magic because it is now permanently imprinted on his hand. And in spite of the teacher's yells and the students' looks, Setsuna is quite happy with his choice. Everyone in the hallway seems to be ignoring him when he exits the classroom to locate the close combat department. They begin to whisper that he is not a prodigy, but rather a fool. Our boy chooses not to think about it after hearing this. Rather, Setsuna keeps moving forward when he hears the sound of a fight. It appears that a red-haired girl from the close combat section has been besieged by a few long-range magic bullies who have also stolen her brooch. They merely want to show her where she belongs as a close combat wizard by forcing her to flee from fireballs. In an attempt to defend herself, she even creates a feeble mana sword. However, the bullies merely make fun of her. They knock her down with a barrage of fireballs. They then make the decision to discipline her for retaliating and demonstrate that she is incapable of becoming as skilled as long-range magicians, regardless of her efforts. They then launch another series of fireballs at the defenseless girl who is lying on the ground. At that point, Setsuna moves quickly to save her before they can react. It shocks the girl. When the bullies see that he is also a close combat magician, they get excited about the prospect of beating him as much as they like. However, Setsuna swiftly demonstrates their error. He runs so quickly that the fireballs can't even touch him, channeling mana into his legs. He sidesteps each one as if it were insignificant. One angry bully is unable to comprehend the situation. Setsuna cuts his most powerful fireball in half as he throws it. The bullies are genuinely astonished now. They have never witnessed somebody severing a fireball in two before. The girl is calmly informed by Setsuna that stronger magic can cut through weaker magic. That is precisely what he did just now. However, the bullies are still unwilling to give up. Despite the danger, their leader chooses to complete everything with an extra-large fireball. However, Setsuna charges ahead and defeats him with a single blow before he can complete the incantation. These seniors are now forced to return the brooch and take their unconscious leader with them. So why does Setsuna's close combat magic work so well? And why did he initially decide on it? He was once the most powerful long-range magician after all. He led a group of skilled magicians against Vidrak, the death god, and his army. Despite their best efforts, they were able to eliminate the majority of the monsters. However, they were utterly ineffective against Vidrak himself. Not a single scratch could be made on his armor by all of their combined spells. Ultimately, they were all eliminated without a chance. Setsuna only succeeded in slightly harming the death god with his last blow. He recognized then that Vidrak could only be defeated by close combat magic, but he still perished. However, he was able to travel back in time with the help of a necklace that the headmaster of the institution once given him. Returning to the present, the hero shows the girl how valuable the brooch is by giving it back to her. Grateful, she takes a firm hold of his hand and introduces herself as Layla Roswell. He also introduces himself as they shake hands. She responds enthusiastically, acknowledging that she already recognizes him, because she has heard that he is drawn to all areas of magic. She is curious as to why he opted for melee magic. Knowing that she won't believe him if he tells her the true reason, the hero hesitates for a second. He asks her to show him the location of their classroom, rather than responding. The two begin racing, reminding her that the orientation for incoming pupils must have already begun. While traveling, our guide discovers that the melee classroom is situated in an isolated area of the academy, which he finds quite unfair. Out of nowhere, the girl asks if he can teach her the mana blade method he used before, and he explains that he merely used his ability to control magic to a specific technique. The hero feels that by exerting control in diverse ways, it should be possible to develop many types of fighting, especially because magic disintegration does not influence that method. Once he fully refines his talents in melee magic, he should be able to fight the death god. However, this alone might not be enough. His thoughts go back to the past, to a period when he was having tea with the headmaster. The headmaster removed his gloves, showing 2 advanced schools of magic, which astonished Setsuna, since a person should only be able to learn 1 school of magic at a time. He discovered that the emblem on the headmaster's right hand represented summoning magic. However, there was also a peculiar symbol on his left palm, one he had never seen before. Just as he was going to ask about it, the headmaster said he would explain when the time was perfect and intimated that he trusted him. Unfortunately, he never learnt the truth. Soon after the death god came, the headmaster was killed, with the death god himself being the culprit, afraid of the headmaster's talents. The hero believes that if he can find the secret of that second root of magic, he might obtain the power to change the course of the world. Layla suddenly guides him toward a building and tells him that they are arrived. Our child begins thinking about how he can catch the headmaster's attention with melee magic. However, just as they are ready to enter, the instructor stops them, protesting that he is late. To make things worse, he has a girl with him. As she tries to explain the problem, he cuts her off and proclaims that the days of gloating about his outstanding grades are over. He mocks the hero and tells him that he now belongs to the melee magic division, a group viewed as misfits inside the academy. Irritated, Setsuna brushes the instructor's hand aside and adds that listening to him is annoying. He queries why a melee magic instructor would denigrate the same path he is supposed to teach. Enraged, the instructor grabs him by the collar and wants to know how he dares to talk back. The hero maintains cool and states that melee magic contains immense potential, which is exactly why he selected it. The instructor scoffs, wondering how long he can keep his attitude. Turning away, he issues a challenge, saying that if the hero genuinely believes in melee magic, he should prove it. Nearby, students are trying to break enormous rocks with their magic. One boy smacks a rock and stumbles back, realizing he has not even scratched it. The instructor yells at the students, asking what they think they are doing, and explains that this is their first test to determine their competence level. Each rock contains a fist-sized crystal inside, and their duty is to extract it within the time restriction. Failure will result in punishment. As the time limit nears its finish, not a single pupil has managed to make even a crack. One complains that the rocks are too hard, while another contends that it is unfair to expect success when they have just started studying. One person mutters that the instructor is taking out his aggravation on them because he was not promoted. While they are whining, the instructor takes the hero to the largest rock in the training ground and asks him to prove his value. If this wasn't awful enough, he only gets 10 minutes since he was late. Layla is astonished and points out that the rock is considerably larger than the others and that 10 minutes will not be enough. The instructor merely smiles and shows the stopwatch, saying that a full minute has already passed during their chat. Instead of whining, our youngster comes forward and places his hand on the rock. The instructor mocks him, questioning whether he actually believes he can achieve, and playfully offers extra time if he apologizes. To his horror, Setsuna calmly says that he will do it in 10 seconds, leaving him stunned. Hearing this, the girl urges him not to push himself too far. Meanwhile, the instructor grins, thinking to himself that the rock is not only big, but also exceedingly dense. It took 30 minutes for him only to move them. Still, the hero does not back down. With only 10 seconds, he focuses his magic and summons a melee weapon into his hand. He knows that if he wants to catch the headmaster's notice, he needs to become the best student in melee magic. Without hesitation, he strikes the rock, thinking to himself that he cannot afford to waste time on such trifling duties. For a brief while, nothing happens, and the instructor starts ranting, arguing that while the hero may have potential, he is still only a student. Suddenly, the rock shatters into fragments. Our son quietly presents the purple crystal to the instructor and adds that he was right about the 10 seconds. The instructor is struck dumbfounded, and the girl can hardly believe what she sees. She marvels how he managed to extract the stone so simply. The other students are likewise surprised, with some even thinking that the hero might be stronger than their instructor. The instructor immediately dismisses the concept and accuses him of trying some kind of ruse. He insists that cracking such a solid rock in 10 minutes is impossible and claims there is no chance it was done fairly. My partner informs him that if he needs 10 minutes to perform the same thing, then perhaps he should be attending lessons alongside the students. This remark plainly angers instructor Zachary, and he is about to retaliate when another teacher, Lionel, suddenly approaches. He takes the instructor by his bald head and demands whether he is bullying students. He adds that his actions were disruptive enough to catch his attention and reveals that Setsuna did not cheat. Instead, he sensed the flow of mana inside the rock and attacked its weakest point. He scolds Zachary, questioning how a teacher could be so ignorant of such basic ideas. Turning to the students, the new teacher declares that the bald guy will now show a mana guard. Taking a combat stance, he comments that since he is so confident in his training, the demonstration should not significantly damage him. Zachary is visibly uneasy and tries to resist, but Lionel aggressively pushes him back, sending him crashing against a nearby wall. The hero understands that this guy has simply cracked the instructor's mana guard. The man then pats him on the back and praises his remarkable abilities. He remarks that this level is more than sufficient for melee magic, and urges him not to push himself too hard. Hearing this, the hero firmly replies that he has no intention of losing to any other department. His ambition is to become the best student and outperform everyone else. Lionel smiles at his determination and encourages that approach. He asks whether he is interested in learning any particular spell, offering to teach him personally if he is. The hero strangely reminds him of himself, since he also has the same outlook. In his mind, he had already seen another student as the department's representative, but they have a new rival now. Lionel publicly announces himself as the chief instructor of the melee magic department and greets everyone. He announces that they will be selecting a representative for the forthcoming intramural contest, even if it is still early. The intramural contest is a competition between 8 magical departments, where each battles for honor. Every department selects one representative, and those chosen face each other in a tournament-style manner. Setsuna recalls that before traveling back in time, he had won the contest as the representative of the ranged magic department and earned the headmaster's trust. That recollection reinforces his ambition to become a representative once more. As he looks about, he spots a particularly substantial piece of granite. The headmaster recognizes him and explains that he wasn't the only one who passed the first test. There's another student who managed to acquire the crystal before he showed up, and he did it with only his fists. Our boy finds that both fractured rocks belong to the same pupil, Drago Okrid. Noticing him, the person approaches over and asks why he entered this department, despite being a prodigy at the academy. The hero just indicates that he has his own reasons. The buff guy scoffs loudly and mocks the concept, questioning what he wants to achieve with such a weak-looking body. He then explains that his family has studied melee magic for generations, and that he himself has undergone severe physical training for 17 years. To illustrate his strength, he suddenly releases his magic and delivers a strong punch into the air, producing a crushing pressure that everyone can feel. With an arrogant smile, he strikes at Satsuna's face and challenges him to a duel. He proclaims that if the hero wants to become the department's representative, he must prove both his power and his determination. Our boy remembers hearing about Dragon before he returned to the past. He was the sole remarkable student in this department. Wanting to prevent the situation from deteriorating further, he agrees to the combat. Headmaster Lionel comes in and announces that the duel will be scheduled for 1 week later. The buff person warns the hero not to back down, saying that anyone who proclaims themselves a melee mage should fight with honor. After he goes, the other kids start discussing who is going to win. Even Layla isn't too confident and asks the hero whether he is sure about this. Satsuna shakes his head, conceding that there is no way he can win against that guy in his current shape. However, there is still a way to beat him. Confused, the girl asks where he is going and decides to accompany him. They head into the forest and halt in front of a gigantic tree. The hero rests his palm on the tree and says that it is his secret training site. Whenever he trains here, his strength improves threefold. He discloses that it is the world tree, planted in this area for thousands of years. A green glow comes from the tree and envelops him, adopting him as its own. Curious by the phenomenon, the girl asks what's going on. He says that the light signifies the blessing of the world tree, which assists in mana recovery, but only for those accepted by the tree. The hero had discovered this spot before he journeyed back in time. With the world tree's blessing, he no longer needs to worry about running out of mana. In other words, he can train while pushing his body to its maximum limits. Layla is left absolutely amazed, but she is still a bit worried since the buff guy has been a melee mage from infancy. She also feels obligated to the hero for bringing back her brooch, and because of this, she chooses to surreptitiously spy on Drago to support him in his fight. The scene moves to the melee magic training room, where the buff guy and several other pupils are training. The girl wanders nearby and notices him training with unusually big weights. After finishing a set, he asks the headmaster if there are any fortified rocks left. Headmaster Lionel humorously asks whether he plans to destroy all of them. It turns out he only intended to utilize them as extra weights for his workout. Watching this, Layla is astonished and begins to wonder if Drago is even human. At this moment, it seems like he might knock out the hero in a single punch. With these thoughts in mind, she hurries to Setsuna to warn him before it's too late. Meanwhile, our youngster is peacefully sitting under a tree, reading a martial arts manual. The red-haired girl approaches him and points out that this is not the time to sit about and read, especially while that monster is doing push-ups with 5 fortified rocks on his back. The hero admits that it's good, but it isn't out of the norm. He reassures her that there is no need to worry, as reading is part of his training too. Her eyes widen with curiosity as she asks what he means. He says that he is utilizing a spell known as Physical Boost. This spell strengthens the body by channeling mana, allowing greater control over the nerves. By concentrating mana in the legs, one can improve leg strength. By focusing it in the fists, strikes generate additional force. If focused on the brain, it can even boost memory. He simply tosses the book aside and adds that he has already remembered all the procedures. Now he wants to test them. Noticing a leaf falling in the distance, he improves his legs with mana and kicks it in half. He then shapes his mana like a sword and slashes through several more leaves. Layla is shocked by how great it is and how rapidly he has mastered these techniques. However, the hero observes that this level is still not enough. Suddenly a terrible ache strikes him, and he drops to his knees. A wound emerges on his hand, leaving the girl bewildered. He reassures her that he is all right, as this is all part of the training. He is purposely pushing his muscles to their breaking point. By focusing on recuperation, his body may heal and get stronger at an accelerated rate. Right before her eyes, the wound heals entirely. Concerned, she questions if he really needs to push himself this far. Setsuna argues that he cannot catch up to Drago by standard training methods, since the guy has spent significantly more time training than he has. With only 1 week left before the duel, he is going to perform this process 1,000 times. The red-haired girl is horrified and wonders how he can take such severe training even once, let alone 1,000 times. Hearing this, the hero lets out a slight smile and remembers the days when he could not even utilize magic. Back then, he devoted himself to training every single day, even when he failed repeatedly. He never gave up on himself and continued improving little by little. As long as he feels he is getting well, he can take the discomfort. From then on, the two of them trained together. During their breaks, Layla wonders about the hero. People frequently claim he was born with brilliance, but in actuality, he worked harder than anyone else. Even now, he is moving large weights while doing push-ups. Eventually, the day of the duel arrives. Our boy stands across from Drago in the arena, with a large crowd observing them. The man says that at least he did not run away. Our child makes it apparent that he never planned to, and that he sincerely wants to become the department's representative. The headmaster checks if both of them are ready, and as they lock eyes, he signals the start of the combat. Setsuna instantly charges forward and throws a left hook at Drago, who blocks it by making a barrier with his arms. Despite the defense, the impact pushes him to step back. Our boy realizes that the buff guy employed a mana guard to prevent the attack. His opponent retaliates promptly with a punch so hard that even the spectators feel its pressure. The attack is so rapid that most cannot even see it coming. Layla grows apprehensive when the dust from the collision settles. It soon becomes evident that the hero effortlessly dodged the punch. The students watching are startled, wondering if the two of them truly performed the ceremony of choice just a week ago. Our boy comments that if the punch had landed squarely, it would have caused major injury. Clearly furious, the buff guy fires a barrage of punches, but the hero blocks and dodges them one after another, which only makes him crazier. He roars and mocks him, declaring that defending is all he can do, and insulting his supposedly frail body. Watching this, the red-haired girl concerns that Setsuna's 1-week training might not be enough to fight Drago. Their teacher sees the fight and remarks that, on the surface, the hero looks to be losing the duel from the outset. The buff guy throws another kick, but once again our lad blocks it. Lionel learns that the hero is likely employing precise mana control to parry his opponent's strikes. Growing even more upset, Drago angrily says that people like him always look down on melee magic. He reveals that his family has been belittled and ridiculed for generations, merely because they are recognized for melee magic. Overcome with wrath, He conjures a blade and proclaims that he would absolutely defeat the hero. In response, our boy summons his own blade, and both of them charge at each other as the battle escalates. The swords collide in a tremendous collision. Drago follows up with numerous fast slashes, but Setsuna cleverly hops and dodges each one. After avoiding the assault, he finally launches a slash of his own. The person lunges again to retaliate, and when their weapons contact, the sheer force splits the ground beneath their feet. Our youngster recalls the harsh words of the students who condemned him for selecting melee magic. At that time, he looks at Drago and professes to understand where his rage is coming from. However, he believes that they should be aiming for something better than this. The person feels puzzled, unable to realize what the hero genuinely means. In the following instant, our boy executes a precise stroke that shatters his mana sword. He stops briefly in shock, but swiftly retaliates, activating physical boost acceleration and hitting back with increased fury. The hero improves his speed and counters immediately. The red-haired girl begins to observe that his attacks are finally having a significant effect on the buff male. The teacher also monitors intently, thinking that Drago is performing excellently. However, Setsuna's mana manipulation and physical augmentation are proving just as amazing. Meanwhile, our youngster is entirely concentrated, knowing that in order to break through his opponent's formidable defense, he must create a single opening. When he rushes forward again, the man conjures another sword in a burst of wrath and swings at him. Sensing the danger, he narrowly dodges. Draco's attack smacks into the ground with horrifying force, breaking it completely. Seeing this, he smiles confidently, sure that the hero will not be able to keep escaping on his legs alone. He clenches his hands, brimming with rage, making the spectators wonder what he has planned next. In the next moment, he advances and swings a punch at the hero. When the punch lands, it turns out to be nothing more than an afterimage. The real Setsuna is already airborne. He illustrates that by focusing mana at a precise spot, it is possible to produce an afterimage and fool an opponent. Without wasting a second, our boy moves forward at remarkable speed. As the buff guy prepares to attack again, he decides it is time to end the fight and delivers a tremendous final slash. The viewers are left in astonishment, and the teacher wonders if he exploited his movement to magnify the attack's potency. Both combatants have demonstrated great skill, but the hero is obviously the winner. After the final strike, Drago collapses to the ground. Layla is filled with excitement with the outcome. To everyone's surprise, the buff guy gently stands back up. The crowd explodes in enthusiasm, shocked that he can still stand after such a crushing hit. It becomes evident just how strong he truly is. Despite this, the man is outraged with the hero, realizing that he pulled back at the last moment to avoid administering a deadly wound. Our child extends his hand to help him up. Still overwhelmed with anger, Drago asks what he is truly fighting for. Setsuna pauses briefly before making it plain that he battles so he will never lose to anybody or anything, and that he aims to keep growing stronger. This makes the man smile, and he finally realizes why he is so strong. After this, Drago confesses his defeat. Our son reacts by complimenting him as a truly worthy opponent, and expresses his hope that he will be a great assistance in the war against the Death God. At the same time, their teacher approaches and notes that the hero has shown tremendous determination to meet the buff person head-on. He then raises his hand and proclaims that depending on the outcomes of the match, he will become the representative of the melee magic department. A few days later, Lionel takes the hero to a room and informs him that he will soon meet the representatives of the other departments. Before sending him in, he cautions him not to cause any problem, and the hero complies. He then enters a room where 7 representatives are already waiting. A boy wearing spectacles notices him and mocks the concept that the melee magic department is participating again this year, commenting on their shamelessness. Our son identifies him as Noel from the enhancement magic department. The nerd approaches, puts his leg against the hero, and forces him down while insulting him. He indicates that they will fight each other in the first match, and states that no melee magic competitor has won the event in the preceding 100 years. Unfazed, our boy simply pushes back against his leg and adds that the enhancement magic department surely has a distinctive way of greeting folks. The geek grows agitated, but Setsuna keeps collected and makes it plain that he does not care about what transpired over the past 100 years. He is aiming to become the champion this year. Noel scoffs in frustration and encourages him to keep dreaming. At that moment, the headmaster enters the room with a smile. noting that it is fantastic to see both of them so worked up, but telling them to save that energy for the actual bouts. As all the representatives stand to show respect, the hero notes that the headmaster appears precisely the same as he did in his prior life. The headmaster goes forward, and a pink-haired woman greets him cordially, stating her resolve to make him proud during the intramural contest. Our boy identifies her as Carol from the summoning magic department. She appears pleasant, and in his prior life, she proved to be a difficult opponent during the intramural contest, even though he won back at the time. That does not mean she should be underestimated now.